What is bid and ask? It's a two-way quotation which indicates the best price at which a security can be sold and bought at a given point in time. Bid price represents the maximum price that a buyer or buyers are willing to pay for a security. Ask price represents the minimum price that a seller or sellers are willing to receive for that security. A trade or transaction occurs when the buyers and sellers agree on a price for the security. In other words, when bid and ask price match. Let's take an example. Let's assume that I want to sell this clicker for 1000 rupees. Because I want to sell this clicker for 1000 rupees, basically I'm asking 1000 rupees for this clicker. Because I'm asking 1000 rupees for this clicker, I will be listed under the ask price, and my ask price for this clicker as of now is 1000 rupees. Let's assume we have a buyer A, and he does not want to buy this clicker. He doesn't require this clicker at all, but he still says if I get for a very cheap price, maybe I'll buy this clicker, and he quotes a price of 200 rupees to buy this clicker. Now because he is willing to buy at a specified price, which means he's bidding for that clicker, and that bid price is 200 rupees. Let's imagine another buyer steps in and he says that I don't need the clicker, but if I get it for 100 rupees, I will be happy in buying this clicker. Because he wants to buy cheaper than the person A, that is the reason this buyer will be lower in the list, because if I want to sell, I can immediately sell it for 200 rupees, which is the best price available in the market as of now. Now another buyer steps in and he says I also don't need the clicker, but if somebody wants to sell it for 50 rupees, I'm happy buying this clicker. Because he's willing to buy the cheapest of all the three buyers, he'll be the lowest in the list. Now let's assume there is another buyer D, and he has a presentation coming up in a week. Because he has that presentation coming up, he definitely requires the clicker and has more urgency compared to buyer A, B and C. Therefore, he starts bidding 800 rupees so that he can be the first person to get this clicker, provided the seller is willing to sell it at 800 rupees. Let's take another case, buyer E, and he has a presentation which will be starting in about 2 hours, and now he has even more urgency compared to your buyer D. Therefore, he is willing to buy it at 950 rupees, and because he is willing to buy it the most expensive, he will be on top of the bid list. Let's take the other side now. As of now, I was the only seller and I was willing to sell it at 1000 rupees. Let's assume we have a seller A and he has that information that the supply for this clicker will reduce. Because he is expecting the supply to reduce, the price of this clicker can go higher. That is the reason he wants to sell his clicker for 1100 rupees. Let's take another example of seller B, and he is also expecting the same thing, that the supply for this clicker will reduce, which can make the prices of this clicker go up, and that's the reason he is willing to sell his clicker for 1200 rupees. Because they want to sell it more and more expensive, they will be lower in the list, because if a buyer wants to buy immediately, I am offering them the cheapest price, which is 1000 rupees. Now let's take another case that we have a seller C, and he has this information that a new model is about to launch, and once the new model is launched, the value of this or the price of this clicker will go down. And that's the reason he wants to get rid of the clicker which he has in his stock at a cheaper price compared to my price. Therefore, he starts offering his clicker for 980 rupees. Because he is willing to sell it cheaper than my price, he will be higher in the list. Let's assume another seller D has the same information that a new model will launch and the price of this clicker will go down. He also offers a better price, which is 960. Because D is the seller who is selling it the cheapest, will be on the top of the list, and since E is the buyer who is willing to buy it the most expensive, will be on top of the list. Now if you look at this, when I was the only seller at 1000 rupees and A was the only buyer at 200 rupees, the difference between the bid and ask was 800 rupees, which is called as your spread. But as and when more liquidity started coming into the market, the spread started going lower and lower, and as of now the spread on this clicker is just 10 rupees. So this table shows us the top 5 bids and the top 5 ask, and this is called as your market depth, and this is how this market depth window looks like on TradeTiger platform. Most of the platforms will show you something similar. The person who is willing to buy it most expensive is willing to buy at 374 rupees 80 paise, and the person who is willing to sell it the cheapest is willing to sell it at 374 rupees 90 paise, which means the spread on this script as of now is 10 paise.